We're back with more Pokemon name etymology videos. This is 8-Bit Otter.
And this is Donata. Today we'll be tackling the Pokemon of the Johto region. Out of all the regions, Johto seems to be the most influenced by Japanese culture.
So let's see if that richness is reflected in the names of this generation, starting off with Chicorita.
This name comes from chicory, a type of vegetable that's related to lettuce.
Although it looks more like a green potato to me.
The second part, ita, is a Spanish diminutive suffix that often refers to something small or young.
We've seen this before with Ponyta in Generation 1.
Bayleaf comes from bay leaf.
Meganium combines mega, which is the Greek word for big, and geranium, a piece of flower.
Hinoarashi comes from hinoko, spark, and yamaarashi, porcupine. Yamaarashi can also refer to a mountain storm, and Hinoarashi also means firestorm.
Magumarashi follows the pattern, but this time combines Yamaarashi with Maguma.
These two words combine to make Magumarashi.
Interestingly, Magumarashi resembles a badger, which in Japanese is called Anaguma, which literally means whole bear. Although the Guma part of Magurashi comes from Maguma, it could also carry a double meaning. It can do other things. Why shouldn't it?
The final evolution of this family of porcupine badger bears is Bakufun.
This name is made up of Bakufu, shockwave, bomb blast, or Bakuhatsu, which in English would translate to an explosion, as well as Typhoon, which in Japanese is Typhoon.
This also ties into its English name, Typhlosion, which is made up of typhoon and explosion. Fun fact, the name Bakufun always reminds me of the German word Backofen, baking oven, which is also fitting for Typhlosion.
That's funny. Bakufun would be the perfect nickname for this Pokemon. Next up, we have one of my absolute favorite Pokemon of all time, Waninoko.
Waninoko literally means baby crocodile, and its evolution's name, Ariadosu, is a shortening of alligator.
Finally, Odairu means big crocodile, which he most certainly is. Otachi's name comes from O, tail, and Itachi, which means weasel, or Tachi, which means to stand.
This is very appropriate because it's a weasel that stands on its tail.
For all you Naruto fans out there, you most definitely recognize the word Itachi. The same kanji is used in Uchiha Itachi.
Otachi's name is the same as its pre-evolved form, this time with O, meaning big, in front of it, like we've seen with Odairu.
Hoho sounds very similar to another flying Pokemon that we'll get to a little later on, but this name is actually from the sound an owl makes.
Yoru no Zuku is a combo of yoru, nighttime, and mimizuku, horned owl, or nozoku, to peek, which Yoru no Zuku is great at. So much so, it can even peek into the future with its move Future Sight.
It must be very difficult to plan a surprise party for Yoru no Zuku, with it being able to see into the future and all.
Rediba is a shortening of ladybug or ladybird, and possibly red. Redian also comes from ladybug or ladybird, combined with red, as well as alien, referencing its alien-like design.
Itomaru is from thread, ito, and circle, maru. The maru suffix of its name is commonly used in ninja names, as seen in Kagemaru, Rikimaru, Tatsumaru, Orochimaru, Konohamaru, and so on. This is interesting because in Gen 2, both ninja characters, Koga and his daughter Janice, had an Itomaru at some point because both used our next Pokemon.
Ariadosu most likely comes from Ariadne of Greek mythology, who gave Theseus string to help guide him through the labyrinth.
It may also come from Arakunido, arachnid, and Odos, to threaten.
Kurobato is cross and bat. And ever since I learned this Japanese name, I've started to always nickname my Pokémon from the Zubat line Kudo, because I like this name.
I like that name too. And since Kudo can also mean dark in Japanese, this is the perfect nickname for this denizen of darkness.
Chunchi's name is from Chochin, lantern or lampion, or from Chochin Anko, football fish. I always confuse the Japanese and the English name because they changed up the syllables in a different way.
Chincho and Chunchi are pretty similar. It's confusing hearing them back to back.
Fear not, because our next Pokemon's names are much easier to remember in both languages. Because Rantan is nearly identical to its English name.
The name, of course, comes from the English word lantern.
That shouldn't be too difficult to remember.
Next up, we have Pichu, whose name is a shortening of Pikachu.
This name could also be related to Pucci, from French petit, which means small.
Next up, we have another baby Pokemon, Pete. This name comes from Pixie, which was used as the basis for its evolved form name, Pikushi.
Pupurin is from purin, the word for pudding, which is Jigglypuff's Japanese name, or Pucci, French word petit, and purin purin, an onomatopoeia for wobbling, or puri puri, an onomatopoeia for inner half.
Togepi's name is made up of toge, which means spikes, referring to its pointy head.
The second part, pio pio, is an onomatopoeia for chirping.
Togechiku follows a similar naming scheme as its pre-evolved form. It's a combination of spike and chick. The totem pole-inspired Pokemon, Natio, or as it's known in Japanese, Nati, comes from native, and its evolved form, Natio, comes from Native Indo, referring to the fact that it's based off a Native American sculpture.
The electric sheep Pokemon, Meripu, combines me, the sound sheep make, with Mary, referring to the old nursery rhyme Mary had a little lamb, as well as sheep.
And if you rearrange the letters of Meripu, you get Ampere.
Mokoko comes from Mokomoko, which means fluffy, despite the fact that this family gets less and less fluffy as it evolves.
Denru literally means electric dragon, but also means electrical current.
Although in the generation it first appeared in, Denru was a pure electric type, in generation 6 it received a mega evolution and gained the dragon type, making its name perfectly reflect its typing.
Kirehana literally means pretty flower.
This name is a great contrast to its pre-evolved form, Kusaihana. Funny story, right now my cell phone ringtone is a random guy saying Kusaihana in a funny voice, which I found on the internet. Let me show you. Kusaihana. Kusaihana.
That is brilliant. Oh my god. Mariru is made up of marui, round, and ruri, lapis lazuli. God, I can never say that word. Lapis lazuli, referring to either the stone or the color. The ending could also refer to real.
Mariruri is comprised of the same words as Mariru, just with a bonus ri at the end.
Next up, we have the tree Pokemon, Usoki.
Actually, it's not a tree at all, and its name confirms this deception. Usoki is a combination of uso, lie, and ki, tree, making its name mean imposter tree. It also sounds similar to Usotsuki, which means liar. This is one of my favorite names.
Mine too. It's really fun just delving into all the layers of this name. Oh, and going even further, Usoki shares similarities to another Nintendo character, Wudo, from Earthbound Beginnings / Mother for the Famicom. Usoki's English name is Sudowoodo, seemingly confirms this connection. It's most likely a coincidence, but it's fun to think this was the specific tree that Usoki is trying to mimic.
Nyorotono comes from nyoro nyoro, which is an onomatopoeia for slithering, Tono-sama gaeru, a spotted frog, and Tono, meaning Lord. Which is fitting because this Pokémon can only evolve when holding the King Stone.
Hanako comes from ha, leaf, hane, wing, haneru, to jump, and ko, which means child, or neko, which means root.
The neko part also sounds like neko, cat, which seems fitting because of its cat-like features.
Haneko's evolved form, popoko, comes from tampopo, dandelion, and the same ko suffix we saw earlier, which could either be child, root, or cat.
Watako follows the same pattern, but this time with wata, meaning cotton.
Eipamu is one of the most straightforward names on the list so far. It's just ape and palm. That's all.
Himanatsu combines himawari, sunflower, with natsu, nut, or natsu, which means summer. Hima also means free time, which this Pokémon looks like it spends its free time soaking up sunlight.
And when it soaks up enough sunlight, specifically in the form of the sunstone, it becomes Himawari. This name is made up of Ki, which means yellow, Kichi, which means good fortune, Kiki, meaning happiness, and like its pre-evolved form, the word for sunflower, Himawari.
Next we have the dragonfly Pokémon Yanyanma, from Yanma, which is dragonfly in Japanese.
Moving on to the super cute Upa, this name is from Upa Rupa, which means axolotl.
Its evolved form, Nuo, comes from Numa, swamp, and O, king, or O Sanshou, a Japanese giant salamander.
Eify, Eevee's psychic evolved form, has its name derived from Espa, Esper, and feel.
Its evolutionary counterpart's name, Buraki, derives from black and lucky.
I love how these two Pokemon both have feel and lucky in their names.
Maybe Feelin and Lucky would be fitting nicknames for these two.
They just have one question for you all.
Do you feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
Yami Karasu is from Yami, dark, and Karasu, crow, which means dark crow. Its name also sounds similar to the mystical three-legged crow, Yadagarasu, who fans of Yu-Gi-Oh! And Miles Edgeworth most definitely remember.
Yadokingu follows its evolution line's name scheme, but this time combining Yadokari, the Japanese word for hermit or tenant, with king.
The one and only ghost Pokemon in this region, Mumma, has its name come from Mumma, a nightmare, but also refers to a succubus. Unknown, the Pokemon that took the English alphabet to the next level, has its name derived from unknown.
You mean we don't know where this name comes from?
No, it's from unknown.
Well, that's too bad. Maybe one day we'll know.
No, we do know. It's unknown.
Well, how could you know where the name comes from if it's unknown?
That's a good point.
Thank you for watching and learning with us.
We're halfway there living on a prayer. Be sure you stay up to date with our latest videos by becoming a subscriber today. We'll have links in both of our channels.
See you all next time.
Bye-bye.